Here's a couple things that I want you to know about stepping into your highest level of personal power and self-worth when it comes to intimate partnership and how you can minimize and actually, in fact, not minimize, you can completely let go of confusion and step into clarity, wipe out doubt, and step into your highest level of standards. A man will show you how he feels about you by the way he behaves. You don't need to try and decode whether he values you or whether he is look if he is looking to have something quite serious with you. Um, if he's displaying any of these things that I'm about to discuss. So these are basically seven boundaries that you can set in your life to avoid the bare minimum in relationship. And the thing about it is, men will respect you and rise for you if they are emotionally safe and if you are a woman who knows what is acceptable, what you're willing to tolerate. And this this goes for everything in your life. What am I tolerating? So, let's look at boundary number one. I won't accept hot and cold behavior. Sorry, I've made some notes. So, if you feel that you're unsure about how somebody feels about you, it's a no. This is why it's super important for you to set really clear, um, kind of have clear parameters about what it is that you're expecting from a relationship and what is a no for you, what you're not willing to tolerate. And if you raise this with somebody, or if you and you don't have to raise it. You can just step away and live your life and live in your highest level of queendom. Um, if that person will show you how they feel about you. So you don't need to chase. You don't need to set an ultimatum. You don't need to teach a big old man how to treat you. So if you're unsure about how somebody feels about you, it's a no. Consistency is the foundation of emotional safety. So if that person cannot be consistent, if they don't follow through, if they don't, and I'm not saying that you need somebody to be contacting you 24/7. When you're in a safe relationship, that flow, that connection is natural. You know where you stand. There's no energy of feeling like you need to chase or clarify or hang on tenterhooks. What's happening there is often there is no foundation of safety, and there has been a pattern of inconsistent, well, breadcrumbing, which is what we're looking at. Where there's inconsistency in communication, we can immediately identify that this is somebody who's not emotionally mature or they're not emotionally available. And that's not something a divine feminine goddess is willing to tolerate in her life. So if that person is unable to be consistent in communication. If they're affectionate one day and then distant the next, this creates instability and anxiety, and this is an unhealthy relational dynamic. Now, unless that person's willing to confront that behavior pattern and to evolve and grow with you so that you are creating a shared understanding of what each other's needs are and meeting those needs without being codependent, but from a place of interdependence, then this is a red flag. So if love is feeling like a guessing game, it's time to walk away. Consistent communication. So if you set the boundary that you require consistent communication, whatever that looks like for you, and this is a need that you have because it makes you feel safe and it allows you to know that you are a priority in that person's life, communication is the way that safety is built. So consistency looks like checking in, responding, asking questions beyond um sexual sexting. It's about really building intimacy and a shared desire to know each other, you know. Um And having open communication where it's okay for you to say this thing's making me uncomfortable, or this is something, this is a pattern here that's making me feel anxious or feel as though I'm not a priority in my life. Give that guy space to let him then show up and rise. And if he's not willing to do that, you have your answer. There's no ambiguity here. Men are very simple creatures. And number three, your actions and words must align. This is such a big one because men can very easily say things. So I'll give you an example. The ghost of lovers past, kept saying, I don't want titles. Well, immediately, I love you. I have love for you, but I just don't want to have titles. Well, boom. Number one, if somebody doesn't want titles, they're telling you very directly they're not willing or able to have a conscious partnership with you. They're not willing to prioritize you. They're not willing to have an adult, loving, divine, sacred union. This is somebody who is keeping you as an option. And the longer you accept these breadcrumbs and tolerate this kind of behavior when that's not what you desire on a deep soul level, the longer you're going to erode your self-trust. And that man's going to lose respect for you. Plus, you're blocking yourself off from actually being open and being a match for the love that you actually desire and the love that you deserve and the intimacy and the connection that is available to you as an awakened and very intuitive woman. So, what other things that he would say? I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose you. I'm afraid of losing you. But his behavior was completely at odds with that statement. Everything he was doing was setting up being distant, rejecting, um, not aligning, not following through, all the things. So don't get confused by the words that a man speaks. Watch his actions. His actions tell you absolutely everything you need to know, and then act accordingly. Walk away from low effort and breadcrumby minimum men. It's not healthy for your self-esteem, and it's also not serving you when actually the man who is ready is there, ready to have you, ready to connect. Um, if you find yourself staying and doubting how you feel and operating from your mind of he might change or actually or being sucked into the words, notice how you feel in your body. Notice how often you feel loved, nourished, um, chosen and cherished in that connection. And and ask yourself, is this because it's familiar? Is this familiar chaos? Or is is this something I need to raise my standards in and change? Another boundary for a divine femme who is stepping into sacred union and setting a higher standard for herself because you are a high value woman is not settling for surface level connection. So if you are a woman of depth, if you've done years of awakening and, you know, do you really want a guy who rings you late at night, doesn't plan dates, only connects with you when he wants to sex? Now, don't get me wrong. And this is really important. Like the sex can be outstanding. You can be the most amazing lover. But if you're not looking for just a casual fling or a casual hookup, and especially if you are an awakened woman who has done her work, um, um, and you've already set your heart on conscious union and building a proper relationship with somebody, you don't really want to be having these casual flings and casual sex with these breadcrumby men because every time you do, you're releasing those chemicals and you're bonding. Your body thinks that you're in a deeper thing than you are, and this is what makes it hard to leave. So, you can tell yourself, oh, it's sex is so good, which is the problem I fell into. Oh, well, I'll just stay for the sex. I'll just wait. I'll stay for the sex, and I'll wait, until I'll use it as a pit stop while I build, try and find my husband. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work because I don't do it. So yeah, if they're not asking you questions about, if they're not into your goals, if they're not caring about who you are, how you feel, and how their actions are impacting you in any way, if there's no real communication or conversations or interest in your inner world, and they can like they can create the illusion of emotional connection by opening up, sharing their issues and their needs, but don't fall into the therapist or the healer role. Again, what you're going to find if you're a light worker or a divine femme, you're going to find that you can be attracted to broken men or men with a lot of emotional baggage or men who haven't done their work because you're still operating from that fixer mentality. So that's another thing to be aware of. Like, if you are someone who feels like suddenly you want to help fix his life, are you really his woman or his romantic interest, or are you trying to resolve and reenact fixing your daddy? Yeah. So think about that. Number five, I will not stay in relationships where my emotions are dismissed or ignored. Now, this is the great one. Has he said to you, my women are crazy. My ex is crazy. All of his exes are crazy. Girl, if all of his exes are crazy and he's the common denominator, what is that telling you? Please, red flag, red flag, red flag. So, if this guy isn't able to honor and hold space for you and your emotions. He's not healthy emotion. He's not a healthy masculine man. This is a man who's either not able to sit with his own emotions or he's emotionally unavailable. And this is not what a woman of your caliber needs or wants, especially if you're saying that you're ready for divine union or you're ready for conscious partnership. So things like minimizing how you feel or rolling their eyes or saying you're too sensitive, or it was a joke, these things shouldn't be tolerated. Your emotions, and I'm not saying be all overly emotional all the time, but having creating sacred space for you guys to have open communication where needs, desires, wants can be shared. And in a healthy partnership, this is what's going to happen. So, number six, I will not stay in relationships where conflict is ignored, avoided, or constantly left unresolved. So, true intimacy comes from repair. Disagreements are normal and they are healthy and they should be addressed honestly, where you guys find resolution and a willingness to grow. If you find yourself saying, I'm trying to find a shared sense of mutual understanding here, or if you're raising something and the behavior pattern doesn't change, it's time to walk away. And finally, if your boundaries are repeatedly ignored or challenged, this is absolutely a non-negotiable. Like you have to walk away from that because it's not safe. If your baseline boundaries cannot be honored, then this is probably more than just a red flag. This is probably quite toxic and abusive. If someone's if so, and also get really clear on what your boundaries are and what you're willing to walk away from. Like if you set a boundary, but then you let it slide, then it's just a request. It's not a boundary. A boundary is non-negotiable. And if that person disrespects that, what they're showing you through the behavior is that they do not value your needs. And the healthiest choice that you can make is to remove yourself from that dynamic. So boundaries aren't about ultimatums. They're not being demanding. They're showing people how to love you. And when you refuse to settle for the bare minimum, you will find a man who's going to rise to you and meet you where you are. So let me know, is there anything out of the seven bare how to, the seven boundaries that you can set to avoid the bare minimum in relationships? Are there any that you would get rid of? Are there any that you would add? Let me know. And if you're ready to rewire your desire so that you're no longer attracted to inconsistency, to bare minimum, to the ghosters, to the breadcrumbers, if you're ready to move out of fantasy bonding, I think it might be time to book some rewire your desire sessions and to recode your subconscious and your nervous system to safe, secure intimacy and relationship and self-value, self-worth, self-love. Bye.